I mentioned in a previous video that I considered tabletop RPGs to be an art form, or that they're turning into an art form. In this video, I'm going to explain exactly what I mean by that. What if I told you that something incredible is happening in the tabletop RPG space right now? Well, it's been going on for a while, actually. We're witnessing the emergence of a new possibilities, not replacing what we love about tabletop gaming, but expanding into new territory we've never explored. This is something I considered since the 90s. I've considered tabletop RPGs to be an art form, and that's what I'm talking about. They're evolving beyond the origins, developing new dimensions that parallel how other creative mediums have grown throughout history. And just like every major cultural shift, this one is being driven by technology and community innovation. So I'm going to start with some historical perspective on this. The novel wasn't considered literature. In the 18th century, critics dismissed novels as frivolous entertainment that would rot people's brains. Samuel Johnson worried that they were just the entertainment of minds unfurnished with ideas. Theater faced similar skepticism. Early plays were considered crude, popular entertainment, not serious cultural expression. The word novel literally means new. These forms were so unprecedented that people had to invent terms for them. But here's the fascinating part. Creative mediums tend to follow similar trajectories. They start with practical functions and evolve into entertainment. And eventually, some practitioners push into new territories of expression. Each transformation is usually enabled by technological advances. The printing press didn't just spread existing stories, it enabled entirely new forms of narrative. Mass production allowed for longer, more complex works that couldn't exist before. Similarly, theater needed the architecture of amphitheaters to reach audience and develop its full potential. Before shows like Critical Role, tabletop RPGs were purely participatory experiences. You had to be at the table to be part of the story, but now millions of people engage with these games as viewers, not just players. People who have never rolled a d20 are emotionally invested in characters created through collaborative storytelling. In the 90s, I used to try and put elements of novels and stories that I have read or ideas that I came up with in my RPG games. That's why I do a series, or I do videos sometimes, called How I Would Use This Book in an RPG Game. I think it's an odd fit. People don't really understand what I'm doing with it, and so it hasn't been received well. But the thing is, this doesn't replace traditional table play. It adds a new dimension. Just like how radio didn't kill live theater or how movies didn't kill stage plays, each medium found its own space and possibilities. Critical Role features professional voice actors with massive followings. Dimension 20 produces elaborate productions. The Adventure Zone evolved from a family podcast into multimedia formats. These productions maintain the improvisational, collaborative heart of tabletop RPGs while exploring what the medium can become when given resources and wider audience. This evolution is creating something unique in the creative landscape. Unlike traditional art forms, tabletop RPGs maintain their participatory nature even as they develop performance aspects. You can watch an actual play show and then create your own stories using the same basic framework. It's like if everyone could write their own novels after reading great literature or stage their own plays after watching professional theater. The medium remains fundamentally accessible and democratic while also developing more sophisticated expressions. This dual nature, both performed and participatory, creates unprecedented possibilities. The audience isn't just consuming content, they're potentially co-creators. A viewer might watch Critical Role, then bring narrative techniques they observe to their home table. And we're already seeing creators push into new territories. Games across the spectrum, from traditional fantasy to experimental indie titles, are tackling increasingly sophisticated themes. Blades in the Dark explores themes of loyalty and corruption through heist fiction. Monster Hearts uses supernatural metaphor to examine adolescent experience. The Quiet Year creates collaborative world-building experiences that feel almost like conceptual art. Kids on Bikes brings the experience of the 80s. These aren't replacing dungeon crawls or heroic adventures. They're expanding the toolkit. Just like how literary fiction didn't eliminate adventure novels, or how art house cinema didn't kill blockbusters. Different approaches serve different purposes and audience. The key is that creators are discovering tabletop RPGs can do things no other medium can. The combination of chance, collaboration, and real-time creation produces unique narrative experiences that can't be replaced in books, films, or even video games. Look at how the conversation around tabletop RPGs is evolving. Academic papers are being written about actual play shows. Game designers are developing increasingly sophisticated mechanical systems that reinforce thematic elements. Critics are analyzing these works for narrative structure and cultural significance. Powered by the Apocalypse, games have influenced storytelling across multiple mediums. Actual play shows are studied for their improvisational techniques. Educational institutions are incorporating tabletop RPGs into their creative writing and theater programs. These developments suggest that tabletop RPGs are developing their own aesthetic, language, and critical frameworks. The medium is becoming self-aware of its unique capabilities, like how dice introduce meaningful uncertainty into a narrative, or how collaborative creation can explore themes of agency and consequence in ways no single author could achieve. Now, I want to address some valid concerns about this perspective. Some may worry that calling tabletop RPGs art might make them pretentious or inaccessible. But recognizing artistic potential doesn't mean every game needs to be serious or meaningful. Jazz can be both experimental art and fun party music. Movies can be both profound cinema and summer blockbusters. Others point out that the collaborative nature of tabletop RPGs make traditional artistic analysis difficult. That's absolutely true, and it's also what makes them fascinating. They're doing something genuinely new that requires new ways of thinking about creative expression. The goal isn't to elevate tabletop RPGs above other forms of entertainment or to suggest that every table needs to tackle weighty themes. It's to recognize that this medium has unique capabilities that some creators are pushing in interesting directions. So where does this leave us? We're at an exciting moment where tabletop RPGs have the technology, audiences, and creative communities to explore new possibilities while maintaining their essential character. This means more experimental games alongside traditional ones, more actual play shows exploring different styles and themes, more academic interest and critical discussions, more integration with other creative mediums. But it also means preserving what makes tabletop RPGs special: their accessibility, their collaborative nature, their ability to create shared experiences around a table with friends. The ancient Greeks didn't set out to invent art when they built theaters. Early novelists weren't trying to create literature. The word didn't even exist. They were solving practical problems and entertaining people, but over time, some practitioners pushed boundaries and discovered new possibilities. And that's one of the things I'm doing here on my channel, or at least attempting to. Tabletop RPGs are following a similar path. Some tables will always be about friends having fun with fantasy adventures, and that's wonderful. Others will explore what happens when you give this medium the same creative attention we give to other forms of expression, like novels and movies and documentaries and history. The future of tabletop RPGs isn't about choosing between fun and art, between accessibility and sophistication. It's about recognizing that the medium is rich enough to support many different approaches. We're not just witnessing the evolution of a hobby, we're participating in the development of a new form of collaborative storytelling that couldn't exist without the technology and creative communities we have today. What do you think? Are you excited about these new possibilities? Or do you prefer keeping things traditional? Both perspectives are valid, in my opinion, and I'd love to hear what your thoughts are in the comments. And please don't forget to subscribe and leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.